Ever wonder when a regular night turns into a story you wish you could forget? It wasn't a full moon or Halloween, just a plain old Friday in late October. We'd lost our homecoming game. Bad. And I was feeling it. So like we always did, me, Dylan, my girlfriend Cass, and our friends Trevor and Nia hit up the Wendy's on Route 9 in Mill Creek. The place is open 24/7, and at 1 a.m. it's usually quiet. Just the flicker of neon, the hum of the soda machine, and the greasy comfort of late-night food. We slid into our usual booth in the back, dumped our trays, and started digging in. Was halfway through my Baconator when Trevor elbowed me and nearly spilled his drink. "Yo, check out the creeper at the drive-thru." I turned. At the broken order speaker outside, some guy just stood there, weirdly still. He wore reflective aviators at night, plus a Wendy's visor pulled so low over his eyes it looked cartoonish. What really got me, though, was the surgical mask stained with what looked like old ketchup. His hands clutched the handlebars of a beat-up delivery e-bike, no logos, no lights on the carrier box. Cass leaned in. Probably some third-party driver. Maybe DoorDash. Maybe. But my gut said otherwise. I tried to laugh it off until he lifted one hand and tapped his temple. Twice. Directly at me. "You see that?" I asked. "Yeah," Trevor whispered. That was straight up creepy. He didn't say anything. Just stood there, watching. We tried to get back to our food, pretending he wasn't there. But I couldn't stop glancing over my shoulder. I didn't know it then, but that was the exact moment the night flipped into something I still can't explain. We ended up hanging around until almost 1:45 a.m. Cass had been quiet for a while, just sort of picking at her fries. None of us really mentioned the guy again, but we kept noticing he never moved. Just stood by that broken speaker like he was waiting for something. Or someone. We got up to leave. Trevor had driven us all in his beat-up Ford Explorer, and as we pulled out of the lot, Nia turned around from the passenger seat. "Oh my God," she said. "He's following us." Sure enough, in the rearview mirror, we saw a bobbing headlight, keeping pace. The guy was on the e-bike, weaving around empty drive-thru lanes and parking spots before merging onto Route 9 behind us. "Is this for real?" I asked. Trevor hit the gas, but no matter how fast we went, that bike stayed just a few yards back. At the red light on Cherry Street, the e-bike rolled up beside us. I was in the back next to Cass. We all stared as the man turned his head slowly toward us, visor down, sunglasses still on. Then he mouthed something to Cass. She went pale. He said, "Check your bag." Trevor looked at me. I dug into our takeout bag, expecting maybe some prank from the cashier. But under my half-eaten sandwich was a receipt I didn't recognize. It was folded in half. I opened it slowly, scrawled in shaky black ink. "You took the wrong order. I'll collect." We were dead silent the rest of the drive. Every turn felt watched. Every stop felt like a trap. Trevor took the long way home, just in case. We didn't know it yet, but whatever we were caught in, it wasn't over. Not even close. The next morning, I called Cass. She hadn't slept at all. Neither had I. Something about that note, it didn't feel like a joke. That afternoon, Cass's dad, he's a cop, decided to make some calls. By evening, he texted her something that gave me goosebumps. The e-bike was found behind Wendy's, abandoned. No plates, no ID. The food carrier on the back, lined with duct tape, and this part still messes with me, strands of red hair. Cass's hair is brown, but the shade was close enough to make me feel sick. Later that night, we heard something even weirder. The security footage from Wendy's showed the guy walking through the back lot at around 1:28 a.m. just after we saw him. He entered the store, through the delivery door, and slipped into the freezer. No one remembered letting him in. And here's the kicker. There was no footage of him leaving. How do you just disappear from a locked walk-in freezer? Management brushed it off. Said it must have been a glitch, some misplaced timestamp. But a couple of employees quit that week. One of them reportedly heard scratching sounds from inside the freezer the next night. When he opened it, the lights flickered out. No one was inside. Weird things kept happening, but the worst was 3 nights later. Cass called me, panicked. Someone had knocked on her apartment door at 3:12 a.m. Her Ring camera picked it up, just a gloved hand slipping a Wendy's bag through her mail slot. Inside, 1 vanilla Frosty straw stuck in upside down. I tried convincing myself it was someone messing with us. A coincidence. Maybe even some disgruntled worker playing games. But the more I tried to rationalize it, the more strange things started piling. Up employees at that Wendy's started talking. The rumors were everywhere. Quiet ones whispered between shifts. Things like bike tracks appearing inside the walk-in freezer, despite it being locked all night. Receipts printing in Cyrillic characters during graveyard shifts with no trace of where the orders came from. A tapping pattern, 3 slow knocks, 2 fast, on the drive-thru window, always at exactly 3:30 a.m. Cass began getting voicemails from unknown numbers, just the sound of wind. No voices, no background noise, just cold, static air. Nia's brother worked the night shift there for a few weeks. He swore that one night the soda machine started cycling flavors on its own, like someone was pressing all the buttons at once. But when he looked up, there was nobody near it. And then he noticed the ketchup dispensers had been rearranged. 3 in a row, 2 to the side, 3 slow, 2 fast, just like the knocking. Trevor stopped coming by. Said he had a bad feeling about all of it. The dude used to mock horror movies, but he looked genuinely shaken. Me? I started having dreams about drive-thrus, about the sound of e-bike wheels grinding on wet pavement. And always, that tap, tap, tap on glass. Something was following us, not physically, not in a way you could report, but it was there, waiting. I don't go to that Wendy's anymore. None of us do, not even during the day, but every once in a while, usually late, around 3 a.m., I check my phone and see a delivery notification. It's never from DoorDash or Uber Eats, just says incoming drop-off. Order Frosty, ETA 3:33 a.m. I don't open the door, not anymore. If you ever visit the Mill Creek Wendy's late at night, be smart, pay attention. If you see an e-bike with no rider, condiments arranged in strange, deliberate patterns, someone calling you by name without asking, don't stay. Don't eat the food. And whatever you do, check the bag before you leave. Because he doesn't deliver food. He delivers warnings. And if your name's on that receipt, he's already on his way. How do you know when your mind has crossed the line? When the shadows are no longer just shadows, but something darker? I used to ask that question as a psychiatrist, studying others' fractures. But now, I'm the one breaking apart. My name's Klara Novakova. I'm 31, once proud of my career, once sure of what was real. Then came that last session. The patient whispered something impossible. Something about the meals, the watching, the bag. At first, I thought it was a hallucination, the last gasp of a mind slipping away. But then the signs started. Half-eaten Dave's singles in my fridge, napkins with smudged, barely readable words tucked in my coat pockets, street cats that hissed and vanished whenever I passed empty alleys. They didn't want me there. Prague's cobblestones and Gothic shadows used to feel like home. Now they felt like a trap, a maze designed to watch me spiral. The Wendy's near Charles Bridge became a strange anchor, neon light bleeding through. Rain, the smell of fries mixing with the scent of damp stone. I began to see him, the smiling man everywhere, a gaunt figure wearing a Wendy's visor, always holding a bag. Sometimes just a glimpse, sometimes right in front of me. But was he real, or just a projection of my fraying mind? Tonight, I told myself, I would get answers. I would find the truth under that flickering sign, or lose what was left of myself trying. I never used to believe in signs, but now they were all I had. The Wendy's napkins in my coat, my own handwriting, but twisted strange, like a stranger's script scribbled. In the dark, the half-eaten Dave's singles, I didn't remember buying or eating them. Blackouts. Stress fractures in my memory, slowly cracking the surface. I kept seeing him, the smiling man, in the foggy corners of my vision, the creep of a shadow just out of focus. The way he held that Wendy's bag like a trophy or a weapon. Dr. Henrik Vogler, my former supervisor, warned me it was psychosis. Clara, you're falling apart. These aren't real. You need help. But what if he was wrong? What if the patient was right? What if I was part of something bigger? Matej, my brother, was the only one who listened without judgment. He said, maybe you just need to step back, take a break. I wanted to believe him, but I was drawn deeper into the storm. The rain hit the windows like nails. The neon Wendy's sign flickered, casting red and white light over wet cobblestones. I stepped outside, breath clouding in the cold air. Tonight, I'd confront whatever was lurking beneath the surface. The parking lot was deserted except for the hum of rain and the distant clatter of the city's heartbeat. Under the flickering Wendy's sign, I saw him, the smiling man. His face was pale and waxen like a mask glued on too tight. The Wendy's visor barely sat right, soaked through by rain. In his hand, a chocolate Frosty cup dangled, dripping onto the pavement. He didn't move but just watched. That grin, too wide, too fixed. You're late, he said. His voice was soft, oddly clear in the storm. It was perfect check, though I'd only heard his whispers in English before. My pulse thundered in my ears. Who are you? I demanded, trying to keep the tremor out of my voice. He extended the Frosty toward me. You already paid for this. I stared at the cup, confused and terrified. Was this a joke? A threat? My mind screamed for answers, but all I could do was shiver in the cold rain, stuck between fear and disbelief. In that moment, the pieces started clicking. The meals I thought were being left by someone else were mine. Midnight binges during. Sleepless nights erased from memory by exhaustion and guilt. The messages on the napkins, my own handwriting distorted when I was too tired to focus, scribbled as if from a shadow inside my head. And him? The smiling man? Not some external monster. A specter from my past. The patient I failed to save. The one who died months ago. When the police report arrived confirming his death, the horrifying truth sank in. I'd been haunting myself. My mind was fraying, the boundary between real and imagined dissolving like mist in the cold morning. I surrendered my medical license. Matej moved me away from Prague's restless streets to a quiet village in Moravia, where the wind whispers through the trees and the nights are darker and quieter. The past still clings like rain on my skin. Sometimes, when the wind carries the faint scent of frying oil from faraway highways, my fingers twitch for a straw, or the cold touch of a Frosty cup. Is it memory? Or something more? The smiling man might have been a ghost of my mind, but his shadow still lingers in every corner I turn. And sometimes, just sometimes, I wonder if the Frosty cup I took from him was really empty, or if something unseen moved inside it, waiting for me to take another sip. You ever stare at your phone screen so long the colors start to blur? Swipe left, swipe right, filter, match, repeat. It's not dating anymore. It's job hunting, with worse benefits. After my last breakup, I wasn't looking for anything serious. I was tired, cynical. But there's something about the way loneliness sneaks up on you in the middle of a crowded cafe. That's why I downloaded Tinder again. That's how I met him. Gustavo. Profile said he was 32, architect, loved local wines, and walked his golden retriever by the Douro every morning. A little too perfect? Maybe. But his messages were sweet, funny. He remembered small things, my favorite Frosty flavor, vanilla, how I hated pickles, the fact that my ex once ghosted me mid-trip to Madeira. He suggested Wendy's for our first date, said it was low pressure and reminded him of studying in the US. We met at the one-off Praça da Liberdade. The AC was always broken, but it didn't matter. He had a charming smile and always paid in cash. Every Sunday, same time, same order. Baconator meal, no pickles, Extra napkins. He made origami hearts out of them. Cute, right? But that was July. Before the ketchup packets started swelling from the heat. Before Sophia, the cashier, whispered something that wouldn't leave me alone. Now I'm sitting in my apartment staring at those little napkin hearts, trying to piece it all together, trying to figure out if I missed the signs or if I just didn't want to see them. Either way, I'm about to tell you exactly how it unraveled. The charmer with extra napk, the first time I saw him in person, he wore a white linen shirt like he'd just stepped off a yacht. Tall, a bit of stubble, hair slightly tousled, just messy enough to be believable. He kissed both my cheeks and handed me a single wildflower. "I picked it on my walk," he said. I smiled and tried not to notice the traffic median right across from the restaurant. We sat down. He talked. A lot. About buildings he designed in Lisbon. One sounded familiar, too familiar. I Googled it later and found it was designed by Alvaro Siza. But at the time, I didn't care. I laughed at his jokes, sipped my Frosty, and convinced myself the butterflies were real. He paid in cash. Always. Big bills too, like someone who didn't trust cards. I asked once, he said he preferred it for privacy reasons. Okay, I let it slide. Each Sunday was the same. He'd already have a tray when I walked in, Baconator for him, chicken nuggets for me. We'd sit by the window, the sun beating through the glass while the AC sputtered. I sweat through half those dates, but I kept coming back. He told me he worked in a small firm that handled residential projects near Villanova de Gaia. Never invited me to see the office. Said they were restructuring. Told me he had meetings always in the afternoon. Once he took a call mid-date and said, "I'm in a meeting, babe," before ducking into the bathroom. I didn't think much of it. We all multitask. But then came a Sunday where everything tilted. It started with a cashier, Sophia. That Sunday I walked in 5 minutes early. Gustavo wasn't there yet. Sophia smiled from behind the counter. Tired eyes, red Wendy's visor, hair tied back in a loose braid. "You want the usual?" she asked. I nodded. While she prepped my tray, she leaned in close. Too close. "Be careful with that one." I blinked. "What?" She glanced around. "The man you meet here, he brings other women. Same time, different days. Thursday night is another one." My stomach twisted. I wanted to laugh it off, say she was mistaken, but then she added, "He folds napkins for all of them." I walked to our usual table and sat down with shaky hands. Gustavo arrived a few minutes later, Baconator in hand, extra napkins. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "Got caught in a call." That day, I paid attention. Not to his stories, but to what he wasn't saying. I noticed how he flinched when I asked about his co-workers, how he changed the subject when I brought up a new building project in Lisbon. Later, I checked the receipt he left on the tray. He'd signed it G. Ribeiro, but the name on the card copy, barely legible, was R. Diaz. I went home and opened his old texts, scrolled back. The sketch of a home renovation he once sent. I reverse image searched it. It was a stock photo. Worse, it was the same as the Wendy's exterior, traced in pencil and filtered. I started to feel sick. It wasn't just a lie, it was performance art. And then I saw it. A sticker on the back of his phone, peeling at the edges. Papa João 23 Elementary. That's where my cousin teaches second grade. And I knew what I had to do next. I waited until Thursday. I told him I had a meeting near his office and asked if I could swing by. He hesitated, then said sure. He'd be in the shared workspace near Boulogne, second floor, far end desk. "Look for the ficus," he joked. I didn't go there. Instead, I went to Wendy's, the one with the play area. It was a quiet afternoon. Kids shrieked and climbed inside the plastic tubes. The AC was still broken. My stomach churned as I stepped through the doors. And there he was. Not in linen, not in slacks. In jeans and a faded tee, kneeling beside a group of kids, coaching them through math problems with a stack of greasy napkins. He looked up. Froze. I didn't say a word, just stared. He stood slowly. 3 phones buzzed in his bag, one with Tinder notifications still open on the lock screen. Another chimed with a WhatsApp message. "Miss you already, G." He didn't even try to lie. I wanted to be someone, he whispered. The Baconators, they were the only luxury I could give them. Them, the kids, the ones now calling him Uncle Rui. That was his real name, Rui something, 41. Substitute teacher. No architecture degree, no countryside estate, just stories stitched together from Wikipedia and cafe brochures. I left before he could finish crying. The walk home felt longer than usual, like the concrete was ashamed of me. The next day, I contacted Wendy's corporate, sent screenshots, receipts, and a statement. I didn't want him fired, I wanted closure, whatever that meant. Sophia confirmed everything. Said she'd seen 4 different women meet him this summer. One even brought a gift. Another cried in the bathroom. Wendy's gave me full refunds for every date we had there. Over €200 in Frosty's Nuggets Baconators. When I got the check in the mail, I laughed so hard I cried. It felt pathetic. And freeing. Real Gustavo, the architect whose photos Rui used, posted a warning online. Turns out he'd been getting messages from strangers for months. Now he eats at Burger King 3 blocks away. Can't stand the smell of Wendy's anymore. Sophia got promoted to shift supervisor. She sent me a message. "You dodged something messy, Kirita. Come in sometime." On me. I haven't gone back. But sometimes I walk past, and I see it. The Wendy's looks the same from the outside. Same cracked glass on the door. Same flickering light above the menu board. But now the play area always looks occupied, even when it's empty. I swore I saw him once. Just a silhouette. Sitting on the tiny red bench, folding napkins again. Maybe for himself this time. Every so often, I grab a Frosty from a different location. Vanilla, cold, comforting. But one time, I swear it tasted salty. Not like tears, something else. Like disappointment that crystallized. Sometimes I wonder if Rui meant it. If he believed any of what he told me. If he thought folding a paper heart was enough to fill the space where honesty should have lived. I still have one of those hearts. I keep it in my desk drawer. Not because I miss him, but because it reminds me of who I almost let myself become. I tell myself next time, I'll see the signs. But the truth? Wendy's still makes damn good Frosties, and loneliness doesn't always care what it costs. I never liked recess. While the other kids sprinted around in winter boots pretending to be hockey stars or trading insults like currency, I'd sit behind the big maple tree near the fence, trying not to stutter if anyone looked my way. That's where I met Stephen Mercer, 3rd grade, Maplewood Elementary. He was tall, pale, wore thick glasses, and walked like he was too busy thinking to care where his feet landed. We didn't talk much at first, but then one snowy lunch break, he pulled out a deck of Pokemon cards and said, "You can have my Charizard if you beat me." I lost, of course. He gave me the card anyway. That was the start. After school, we'd go to Wendy's on 14th Avenue where my sister Mariana worked. She'd sneak us Frosties and fries, and we'd camp out in the back, booth away from the noise. We were the quiet kids, weird, different. But in that corner, under fluorescent lights and the smell of fryer grease, we weren't outcasts. We were just us. Stephen talked about chess and why he hated gym. I talked about music, Nirvana mostly. He didn't get it, but he listened. That meant something. The bullies called us fry grease freaks like we cared. That booth was ours. Looking back, I think that Wendy's meant more to us than either of us realized. It was escape. A pocket of calm in a world that didn't fit us. But kids don't stay kids. And sometimes the people you grow up with don't grow the same way, especially when one of you starts treating life like a game. By 16, Stephen had changed. He got contacts, started wearing better clothes, and got into these psychology books he found at the local library. I was still figuring out how to talk without tripping over my own voice. My dad had been laid off from the plant the year before, and things at home were tight. Mariana was working 2 jobs, and my grades were tanking. Stephen seemed to rise while I just stalled. He started asking weird questions. Not like, "What's your favorite movie?" More like, "Why did you hold the door open for that guy who didn't say thank you?" Or, "Would you lie to protect someone you love?" It was like being his friend had turned into some unspoken experiment. I remember one day at Wendy's, our booth, fries between us. He looked at me and asked, "Danny, why'd you let Jessica cut in front of you in the lunch line today?" I shrugged. I don't know. She just did." He leaned in, all confident now. "Exactly. You let her. You could have said no, but you didn't. Why?" He smiled like he had solved me. And I laughed like it was funny, but it wasn't. I was tired of being dissected. Still, I kept coming back. Because Stephen was the only one who made space for me, even if it felt like I was being analyzed. He started pulling tricks on other people too, leaving wallets on tables, fake job offers, accidental texts, watching how people reacted. I went along with it partly because I was curious, mostly because I didn't want to lose him. He always had a theory, an explanation. And I always had the same booth, the same job, the same life. At least back then. After high school, Stephen went off to the University of Toronto for psych. Full ride. I stayed behind, couldn't afford much else. I bounced between community college and part-time jobs, telemarketing, stocking shelves, 2 different Wendy's. I got promoted to night manager eventually. Big win, right? We still talked now and then, met up maybe once every couple months. He'd sit in our old booth, order fries like it was nostalgia, and start rambling about social constructs and brain chemistry. He told me about a girl he'd met, Emily. She was a psych major too. He said they debated morality over coffee. "She's like me," he said, proud. "She sees through people." I smiled and nodded like I meant it. Truth was, I missed the old Stephen, the one who didn't have theories about every action I took, the one who handed me a Charizard and didn't ask me why I wanted it. The last time we met up before everything went to hell, he looked at me with this weird mix of pity and interest and asked, "You ever think about why you're still here? Danny? Same booth, same job, same life?" I didn't answer him, mostly because I didn't know. Maybe I was afraid. Maybe I just didn't believe I deserved more. Or maybe I was waiting. For him, for something. But I didn't expect the call I got 3 years later. Didn't expect him to be the one lying in a hospital bed, running a final test. Didn't expect to still care. The call came at 3:12 a.m. I was halfway through inventory, at the Wendy's when my phone buzzed with Emily's name. She was crying. "It's Stephen. Car accident. They don't know if he's gonna make it. He kept saying your name." I left work without clocking out. The streets were dark and wet with sleet. By the time I got to the hospital, Emily was outside, arms wrapped around herself like she might fall apart. "He kept talking about you," she said. "Something about a test." I didn't understand. I went inside. Stephen looked like a ghost. Tubes, machines, pale skin. But he smiled when he saw me. "Hey, buddy. Remember our Wendy's days?" I nodded, throat dry. "All those little games?" he said. "I ran one last one. On myself." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" His voice was weak. "I knew she'd call you. Knew you'd come. Because you always do. Even after all these years, you're still the guy who lets people cut in line." His hand gripped mine tighter. "But here's the thing. I also knew you'd forgive me. Because that's who you are." He coughed hard. His eyes were glassy now. "Final hypothesis confirmed," he whispered. Then the heart monitor flatlined. I sat there holding his hand, stunned. Not angry. Not sad. Just numb. Like I'd been part of his final thesis. And maybe I had. Stephen's funeral was small. Emily handed me a letter afterward. His handwriting was still the same, sharp, deliberate, like every letter had been considered. It read, "If you're reading this, I was right. But here's the thing, Danny. You don't have to be the guy who gets pushed around. Never did. Go. Live. For real this time." I read it twice, then crumpled it in my hand. The next day, I walked into work, my third Wendy's job in 7 years, and handed in my keys. No 2-week notice, no backup plan. I walked out into the snow, didn't even grab my coat, and for the first time in my life I cut the line. Not literally. I mean the line I'd been standing in my whole life. The one that said I was supposed to wait my turn, not ask for more, not expect better. Stephen was right about a lot of things. But what he never understood is that loyalty doesn't mean weakness. And forgiveness? That's not compliance, that's a choice, so I chose something else. I chose to leave the booth behind. Some people wait their whole lives for permission to move forward. Others build experiments to test the world, but miss the humanity in it. Stephen's last test showed me the loop I thought I was stuck in wasn't real. It was just fear in a familiar shape. I was never meant to stay in line. And maybe, neither are you. Why do some questions never let you go? I've been chasing shadows for months. Disappearances, strange messages, rumors tied to fast food workers. It started when I got a cryptic text from Lisa, a Wendy's employee who vanished without a trace. Her last words? "They're putting something in the food." What could that possibly mean? Drugs? Mind control? I was a journalist, not a conspiracy theorist. Still, I couldn't ignore it. Auckland's overcast skies hung low that late afternoon on March 8, 2024, when I stopped at the local Wendy's for a quick bite. I needed a break, but something felt off. The place was quieter than usual, sterile, in a way. When I got to the counter, the cashier smiled, too wide, too fixed. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was a warning, or maybe a trap. As I sat down with my spicy chicken sandwich, a folded napkin slid silently onto my tray. My heart caught in my throat, written on it, in jagged letters. "Stop digging. They see you." I stared around, half expecting cameras to blink to life or someone to step out of the shadows, but no one did. I left the restaurant wondering if I was losing it, or if I had just stepped into something much darker than a missing person story. I wanted to brush it off as a prank, a weird coincidence. But that night, my apartment's motion sensor flickered like a faulty light bulb, though the room was empty. It was the first real crack in my skepticism. By day 3, things spiraled. I was at the grocery store when I spotted a missing person poster pinned to the bulletin board. My face stared back at me. The caption read, "Have you seen Ethan Mercer?" I wasn't missing, I hadn't reported myself. The clerk just shrugged. "That poster's been here for months." But I knew it hadn't. That same week, a letter showed up in my mailbox. No postmark, no return address, just this ominous message. "I'm watching you, W." The handwriting was shaky but deliberate. I thought about calling Sophie, my sister. She was a nurse, grounded, practical, everything I wasn't. But I hesitated. I didn't want to drag her into this. Still, she found something in her car a few days later. A Wendy's receipt dated the same day I was at that store. I'd never been there. She looked worried. "Ethan, what is this?" I had no answer. By then, I was living in a haze of suspicion, unsure what was real and what was a trick of my mind. Sleep was a luxury I'd forgotten. My laptop was compromised. My investigation files disappeared overnight. I kept catching shadows from the corner of my eye, figures vanishing the moment I turned. Detective Liam Harris was the only cop who took a passing interest, but he was a skeptic. "You're stressed," he told me. "Maybe lay off the conspiracy theories." I wanted to believe him. Then came the voicemail. Static at first, then a whispered voice, distorted and cold. "You should have stopped eating the fries." My stomach twisted. The fries? The seasoning? I'd thought it was paranoia. Maybe it wasn't. I started watching the Wendy's across the city. Employees there didn't blink. They smiled like they were hiding secrets behind their lips. Always. The same wide, unnatural grin. The world was closing in and I was running out of places to hide. Desperation drove me to break into the Wendy's after hours. The back door was unlocked as if waiting for me. Inside, the manager's office was a shrine of secrets. Files on me, Sophie, even Harris. Photos, notes. A sickening detail caught my eye. Subject shows resistance, increased dosage. I rifled, through papers detailing a special seasoning, scientifically engineered not just to addict, but to make people compliant, malleable. The missing employees. They'd tried to expose it and disappeared. Then I heard footsteps. The cashier stood in the doorway, grinning wider than ever. "You were always our favorite test subject," he said softly. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just a story anymore, it was a nightmare. I barely escaped that night. I leaked everything online. The response was silence, then denial. Soon after, the Wendy's burned down under mysterious circumstances. Sophie moved away. Detective Harris distanced himself. I change phones, apartments, cities. But sometimes when I see a Wendy's, I notice that same smile. Too wide, too knowing. Are they still watching? Are the fries still spiked? I don't know. What I do know is this nightmare isn't over, not yet. And now I'm always looking over my shoulder. You ever take a job knowing it's going to suck, but you need it so bad you don't care? That was me. I'm Mia Rodriguez, and I was 17 when I started working the night shift at the Wendy's on Highway 6 in Danville, Kentucky. My mom had just been laid off from her nursing job. Bills were stacking up. I had to do something. The night shift paid more, $2 extra an hour. So yeah, I took it. Even if it meant scrubbing dried chili off the floor at 2 a.m. or dealing with drunk college guys daring each other to chug BBQ sauce. I could handle that. What I didn't sign up for was him. He didn't show up right away. I had about 3 weeks of boring, greasy, overly quiet shifts before he walked in. But looking back, I think about all the times I worked that counter alone and how it only took one person to ruin all sense of safety. People joke about creeps, about the Diet Coke guy or drive-thru weirdos. But I'm telling you, there's a difference between uncomfortable and dangerous. You feel it in your gut. It's not loud. It's quiet and slow and sticky. Like something's watching you and waiting for you to slip up. He never yelled, never touched me, never even cursed. But he knew what he was doing. I remember that night. Like a movie I don't want to replay but can't stop. Every second plays on loop, and the worst part? He smiled the whole time. This story doesn't have a clean ending. But maybe if you work a job like mine, somewhere late, somewhere alone, you'll recognize the signs early, and maybe you'll get out before it gets real. It was a Wednesday night, technically Thursday morning, 2:13 a.m., dead quiet. I was behind the counter half watching the fryer timer wiping down surfaces for the 5th time. That bell above the front door jingled. I turned. This guy walks in, mid-40s, maybe early 50s, clean-shaven, wearing a crisp polo shirt, too. Crispy, like he bought it on the way there. Khakis. Receding hairline. Smelled like wintergreen gum, strong enough to burn. "Just a Diet Coke, sweetheart," he said. Right away, something felt off. It wasn't what he said, it was the way he leaned over the counter like we were already friends. Too close. Like he wanted to see how I'd react. I forced a smile. "That'll be a 189. He didn't move. Just stared at me. "You look tired." "Long shift?" My stomach did a slow roll. I nodded. "Yeah, almost done though." He kept looking at me, then tapped the counter. 3 slow taps, too fast. It was weird. Like a rhythm. Like a code. I stepped back a little. "Sorry, we're not really supposed to chat with customers during shift." He smiled wider, like that answer pleased him. He paid in cash, then took his drink and sat at the booth closest to the counter facing me. Just sat there, watching, not on his phone, not eating, just watching. I tried to ignore it, kept busy, refilled sauces, cleaned trays that didn't need cleaning. But every time I looked up, his eyes were locked on me, and not in a flirty way, in a memorizing you kind of way. If that first night had ended there, maybe I could have forgotten it, but it didn't. It got weirder. Fast. At 2:27 a.m., he walked back to the counter and asked, "Do you guys have security cameras?" His tone was casual, but something in his eyes wasn't. I hesitated. No, not out front, just back of house stuff." He nodded slowly, like that mattered more than it should. At 2:41 a.m., I gave him a receipt for a second Diet Coke. He didn't drink the first. He looked at it for too long, then smiled. "You've got really neat handwriting, Mia." I didn't remember telling him my name. Sure, I was wearing a name tag, but no one ever actually reads those. I pretended not to hear him. My manager, Daryl, was in the freezer doing inventory. I was alone out front. I considered calling him out, but something told me not to make a scene. At 2:55 a.m., the man took a call. Loudly, he paced near the napkin station. "No, I'm still here." "Yeah, the girl from Wendy's, the one by the back entrance." My skin went cold. Back entrance, that's where employees parked. The door had no camera, barely any light, just dumpsters and gravel. If you wanted to catch someone off guard, that was the spot. I texted Daryl to come up front. He didn't respond. I thought about calling 911, but what would I say? A customer ordered a Diet Coke and made me uncomfortable. That's the thing about people like him. They don't do enough to get arrested, just enough to make you feel unsafe and feel alone. My shift ended at 3:30 a.m. The guy had left about 15 minutes before that. Or at least I thought he had. Daryl finally came up front, handed me my tips, and told me to head home. I grabbed my jacket, shoved everything in my bag, and stepped out into the cold. That's when I saw it. His white Ford Taurus, parked at the edge of the lot near the dumpsters. Headlights off, engine running. I froze. I considered going back inside, but the door locked automatically after 3:30 and Daryl had already started shutting down. I clutched my keys, picked up the pace, and headed for my car. My beat-up silver Corolla was parked 3 rows over. As I walked, I heard it creak, a car door opening. Footsteps, crunching on gravel, getting faster, closer. My heart slammed in my chest. My hand shook as I aimed the key fob at my door. Then, a voice. Calm. Too calm. "Mia." I whipped around. He was 10 feet away, holding something metal. I backed up. "What do you want?" He raised his hand slowly. "You forgot your tips," he said, holding up my jar. It was mine, my jar. But I didn't forget it. I'd already put it in my bag. I didn't ask questions. I grabbed it, jumped in my car, and peeled out of that lot like the engine might die any second. In my rearview mirror, his car never moved. But just before I turned off Highway 6, I saw his headlights flash twice like a signal. The next shift, I didn't want to go in. I begged to be moved to day shift. No luck. Daryl said he'd keep an eye out. When I clocked out that night, there was a Diet Coke cup on my windshield. Inside it, a folded napkin that read, "Next time, I'll get a Frosty. R." I didn't sleep that night. A week later, my neighbor texted me a video. A white Taurus doing slow laps around our complex. 3:30 a.m. Same time I'd get home from Wendy's. Headlights off. Driver not visible. The final straw? I came home from school one day, went to change clothes, and found my Wendy's name tag sitting on my nightstand. I never brought it home. I called out sick. The next day I quit. 2 months later, a Danville news alert popped up. Richard Vales arrested for stalking fast food workers across 3 counties. Charges dropped. No proof, no priors. Last known vehicle, a white Ford Taurus. Final warning: if you work night shift, watch for customers who know your name without asking. Trust your gut on questions that feel too personal. Never walk alone to your car without checking your surroundings. Because if he says you forgot your tips and he's not trying to be kind, he's trying to see if you'll let him get closer next time.